When a heart has been wounded and left unattended, it does not simply rest quietly in the chest. It carries its pain into every word, every silence, every embrace. A broken person, unhealed and unwhole, will step into love with hands that tremble and eyes that still search for the ghosts of yesterday. And when two broken souls meet, their fractures do not disappear, they collide, they echo, they multiply. A relationship is not a hospital. It is not meant to stitch together wounds that were never cleaned, nor to close scars that were never allowed to breathe. Yet so often, people bring their pain to the table and set it down between them like a feast, expecting the other to eat from it, to understand it, to carry it. Brokenness shared without healing does not make love stronger, it makes love heavier. When trust was stolen long ago, suspicion becomes a shadow that follows every promise. When rejection has carved its mark deep within, even the gentlest touch can feel like abandonment waiting to happen. When anger has been swallowed for years, it spills out on the innocent, burning those who only came to love. And so the cycle continues, broken people handing their hurt to others, and in turn, breaking what could have been whole. But love was never meant to be a battlefield where old wounds are fought through once again. Love was meant to be a garden, tended with patience, watered with kindness, guarded with honesty. And a garden cannot grow if the soil is poisoned by bitterness, if the roots are tangled in the past, if the seeds are smothered in fear. To love without healing is to love with chains. It binds, it suffocates, it asks another to carry what is not theirs to bear. And until the heart chooses to heal, to forgive, to release, every new beginning will look like the old ending. When a person carries brokenness within, it does not remain silent. It whispers through their laughter, it hides inside their smile, it speaks in the pauses between their words. Pain that has never been healed becomes a language of its own, one that others read without ever being taught. You can feel it in the way someone pulls back when love comes too close, or in the way they hold on too tightly out of fear that love might slip away. Brokenness is not invisible. It leaves fingerprints on every relationship, every friendship, every family bond. When broken people attempt to love, their hearts are often split between yesterday and today. They want to give, but part of them is still holding on to the memory of being taken from. They want to trust, but the echoes of betrayal still ring in their ears. They want to stay, but the fear of being abandoned pushes them toward the door, even when no one is leaving. And so, even with the best intentions, they end up building houses on shaky ground, walls that crumble when the winds of misunderstanding blow. A relationship is not designed to fix the fractures of the past. It is designed to hold two people steady as they walk into the future together. But when one or both bring brokenness as their foundation, they end up building not a home but a shelter made of fragile glass. One sharp word, one forgotten promise, one late-night silence, and suddenly the glass begins to shatter. And when it shatters, it cuts not only the one who carries the pain but also the one who only came with love. Broken people often mistake attachment for affection. They cling because they fear being left, but they call it love. They demand proof of loyalty over and over again, not because the other has done wrong, but because the scars of betrayal remain unhealed. They confuse control with care, possession with passion, jealousy with devotion. And in doing so, they suffocate the very love they are desperate to keep. Imagine a heart as a vessel. If the vessel is cracked, no matter how much love is poured in, it will leak out. No matter how deeply someone tries to fill it, it cannot hold what it has not been prepared to hold. And the tragedy is this: the one pouring may eventually grow weary, wondering why their giving never feels enough, why their love cannot quiet the storms inside the other. They may not see that the problem was never the love, but the cracks that were never mended. Brokenness does not only harm the one who carries it, it reaches out and touches everyone around them. The friend who gives their shoulder again and again, only to find their kindness drowned in endless sorrow. The partner who offers stability only to be accused of dishonesty because old wounds whisper lies. The child who watches and learns, unknowingly inheriting patterns of hurt that were never healed. Brokenness spreads when it is not faced. Pain multiplies when it is not transformed. Some broken people run from love because they believe they do not deserve it. Others chase after love desperately, believing that only love can make them whole. Yet both paths lead to suffering, for love is not meant to be medicine for untreated wounds. Love is a gift, not a bandage. Love is a mirror, not a cure. And when brokenness meets love without healing, That mirror often reflects not joy but fear, not intimacy but insecurity. You see, the past is not something that disappears just because we decide to move forward. If we do not face it, it follows us. If we do not confront it, it confronts us in every new face we meet. It shows up in the way we misinterpret words, in the way we create storms out of silence, in the way we expect disappointment even before it arrives. Brokenness trains the heart to anticipate pain, and in doing so, it prepares for loss even in the presence of love. And then comes the cycle. A person wounded becomes a person wounding. A heart broken becomes a heart breaking. A soul unloved becomes a soul unable to love without fear. And the chain stretches on from one generation to the next, unless someone is brave enough to stop, to turn inward, to face the wounds and begin the slow work of healing. Without that pause, without that courage, broken people will continue creating broken relationships, and broken relationships will continue creating broken people. But the truth is, brokenness is not the end of the story. A shattered vase can be mended, sometimes more beautifully than before. In some cultures, they repair broken pottery with gold, filling the cracks so that what was once a flaw becomes a mark of beauty. Healing is much the same. It does not erase the scars, it transforms them into strength. It does not deny the pain, it gives it purpose. Yet that healing cannot be outsourced to another soul. It must be chosen, faced, embraced from within. When people skip this journey of healing, they enter relationships still carrying the weight of old injuries. They bring accusations where none are deserved. They demand reassurances that can never fill the void. They see rejection in silence, manipulation in kindness, betrayal in freedom. They bleed on those who did not cut them. And in time, the relationship collapses not because there was no love, but because love was forced to carry wounds it was never meant to heal. Brokenness creates distance even in closeness. Two people may sit side by side, but the walls of fear and insecurity stand between them. They may speak daily, but the words are filtered through suspicion and doubt. They may touch, but the touch carries hesitation, a pullback that says, "I do not trust this to last." Love cannot thrive in soil watered by fear. Trust cannot grow where doubt is given more space than truth. And so, many broken relationships end not with betrayal, not with hatred, but with exhaustion. One or both partners grow tired of fighting ghosts that do not belong to them. They grow weary of proving what is already true. They grow silent because words no longer heal but only reopen old wounds. And in that silence love withers. What makes brokenness so dangerous is its invisibility to the one who carries it. They may not even realize the patterns they repeat. They may not see that their anger is rooted in an old wound, that their jealousy is born of a past abandonment, that their mistrust is a shadow of betrayal long gone. They only feel the ache and assume it is truth. And so, unless there is self-reflection, unless there is courage to look in the mirror and see not just the face but the scars, the cycle continues. Healing is not easy. It asks us to revisit places we would rather forget. It demands that we sit with grief, with loss, with betrayal, with rejection. It requires forgiveness, not always of others, but often of ourselves. Forgiveness for staying too long, for allowing too much, for carrying shame that was never ours to hold. Healing strips us bare before it builds us whole. But without it, every relationship becomes a battlefield, every conversation a landmine, every silence a storm. And so, broken people create broken relationships not because they wish to, but because they cannot give what they do not yet possess. They cannot trust fully when trust within themselves is fractured. They cannot love freely when their love for themselves is still conditional. They cannot offer stability when their inner world is trembling. Relationships mirror the state of the soul, and when the soul is wounded, the reflection cannot be whole. The task, then, is not to run from love, nor to cling to it as salvation, but to pause long enough to mend the cracks within. To sit with the broken pieces and learn how to put them together again. To realize that love will not fix what only healing can, and that no partner, no friend, no family member can take the place of the work we must do inside ourselves. Healing does not mean perfection. It does not mean the scars vanish or the memories fade. It means we learn how to hold our scars without bleeding on others. It means we learn how to carry our memories without letting them dictate our present. It means we learn how to walk into love not as fractured pieces looking for completion, but as whole beings ready to share abundance. Until then, broken people will continue to create broken relationships, not out of malice, but out of unhealed wounds crying out for attention. And love, no matter how powerful, cannot replace the work of healing. For love was never meant to mend us. It was meant to meet us whole, to dance with our healed selves, to build not shelters of survival but homes of peace. When a heart is broken, it learns to speak in languages that are not its own. It learns to whisper doubt even in the face of kindness. It learns to expect storms even under a clear sky. It learns to hold love at arm's length, pretending to welcome it while secretly preparing for its departure. Brokenness creates an echo chamber inside the soul, where every word spoken by another is twisted into the shape of old wounds. A gentle question becomes an interrogation. A moment of silence becomes abandonment. A small mistake becomes betrayal. And so the person who has never been healed finds themselves reliving the same pain again and again, not because the present has failed them, but because the past refuses to release them. This is why broken people create broken relationships. They are not unworthy of love, but they are unable to recognize it when it arrives. They confuse intensity with intimacy, drama with passion, control with security. They run toward the very patterns that once wounded them, not realizing they are mistaking familiarity for safety. And when they finally hold something pure, something steady, something whole, they cannot sit with it. They poke at it, test it, pull it apart, waiting for it to reveal the flaw they believe must be hidden inside. In doing so, they often create the very destruction they feared. A broken person who has not healed will sometimes sabotage love before it even begins. They will create arguments out of nothing, push people away to see who stays, demand proofs of loyalty that can never be enough. They will hide behind walls so high that no hand can reach them, then mourn that no one ever climbs high enough to enter. They will long for closeness, but when closeness arrives, they step back, suffocated by the intimacy they thought they wanted. It is not love that they fear. It is the vulnerability love requires. And what of the person who tries to love them? They often give and give and give, only to find that nothing they offer is ever enough to heal what was broken long before they arrived. They pour affection into cracks too deep to fill. They speak words of reassurance into ears already filled with old lies. They promise faithfulness to a heart that has already decided everyone leaves. And over time, they may begin to break themselves, carrying the weight of wounds that were never theirs. Love, when it is asked to heal what only time and truth can mend, grows weary. Even the strongest soul tires when it is stretched too thin by another's unhealed pain. Brokenness does not always appear as sadness. Sometimes it shows up as anger. A heart once mistreated may turn sharp, cutting others before it can be cut again. It may build defenses made of fire, daring anyone to come close. It may laugh too loudly, shine too brightly, boast too proudly, all to hide the trembling beneath. Brokenness wears many masks. It does not always look like tears. It can look like coldness, silence, cruelty, or even charm. But beneath the mask, the wound is the same. A wound that has not been faced. And until it is faced, love remains fragile. Two broken people together may believe they have found comfort in shared pain, but pain added to pain rarely makes peace. Instead, it makes volatility. It makes patterns that repeat themselves, jealousy feeding on jealousy, insecurity feeding on insecurity, anger answering anger. The relationship becomes not a partnership but a battlefield where past injuries fight for dominance. And in the midst of that battle, the possibility of love gets buried. Brokenness, when unhealed, also blinds people to the love they already have. A partner may stand faithfully by their side, but the broken heart cannot see it. It looks instead for flaws, for signs of leaving, for hints of betrayal. It focuses on absence instead of presence, on fear instead of trust. And slowly the one who has given so much begins to wonder why they are unseen, why their devotion is overlooked, why their love is never enough to silence the ghosts of yesterday. It is not that broken people are unlovable. They are deeply lovable. But love alone cannot save them. Love can hold space. Love can support. Love can encourage. But love cannot replace healing. Healing is a work that must be chosen, not gifted. It must come from the willingness to face the darkness inside, to tend to the old wounds, to forgive what can be forgiven, and to release what cannot. Without this work, love becomes a mirror that reflects not beauty but fear, not connection but wounds. And yet, even in brokenness, there is hope. The cracks in the soul are not signs of failure but signs of survival. They show where the person has endured, where they have been tested, where they have carried more than they should have. Those cracks, if tended, can let the light in. They can become places where wisdom grows, where compassion deepens, where strength is born. But that light cannot enter if the person denies the cracks exist, if they cover them with denial, with blame, with avoidance. The beginning of healing is the acknowledgement that something within still aches, still longs, still bleeds. Many people run from this acknowledgement because they fear it will consume them. They believe if they sit with the pain it will swallow them whole. But the truth is the opposite. It is the running that keeps the pain alive. It is the avoidance that makes the wound fester. To sit with it, to face it, to name it, is to begin to take its power away. Only then can a person bring something whole into a relationship, something steady, something capable of giving love without demanding that love fill every empty space. Without this, relationships continue to fracture. A partner may walk away not because they do not care, but because they cannot fight shadows they cannot see. A friend may grow distant not because they lack compassion, but because compassion without balance becomes self-destruction. A child may inherit the very pain their parent never faced, growing up to repeat the same patterns in their own relationships. Brokenness echoes through time, unless someone is willing to silence it with healing. And so the truth remains that broken people create broken relationships, not because they are destined to, but because they have not yet chosen to heal. The cycle does not end with finding the right partner, the right friend, the right circle. It ends with the choice to mend what is within, to face the fractures, to let the scars become strength rather than chains. And so, if a broken heart can break another, then a healed heart can heal the world. The choice rests in every soul, to pass on the pain or to pass on the peace, to hand forward the wounds or to hand forward the wisdom. Healing is not selfish. It is the greatest gift you can give to those you love and to those who will love you. For when you mend yourself, you stop the cycle, you end the echo, you build the kind of love that does not bleed but blossoms. Heal first, so that your love is not a burden but a blessing. Heal first, so that when you hold another, your arms become a refuge and not a reminder of pain. Heal first, so that you no longer create brokenness but become the source of wholeness. Because a healed heart does not fear love. It becomes love.